coming here. Talked to a lot of people on a lot of groups over my career. A lot of organizations. Spoken to many, many people. And this is, without a doubt, the hardest discussion I've ever had. Believe it or not.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna try real hard to keep my composure, but it's gonna be very difficult, sir. Very difficult.
I ask that everyone just be respectful and listen.
I won't curse at you, no, absolutely not.
That's all I ask. It's not an easy decision. Took a long time to get to this point. It's not something that we want, and I know it's not something that many of you want either. It's something that we feel is necessary.
Do it again. I'm glad you speak for the citizens and everybody else.
Again, I ask you to be respectful and let me speak.
I mean, you do realize how much,
You can record. I'm going to give a little bit of history of kind of how we got to this point. I know that Mr. Stevens kind of talked to that.
Well, again, as Brad said, I do want to say good morning. I really am sorry we're here. I at least want to give you history of why I think we're here. And again, ultimately, the blame will be mine. You know, I accept that in terms of where we are with staffing.
But you don't have to work in York County, so it doesn't really affect you, sir.
But staffing is the reason.
Yeah, like I emailed you 9 months ago about staffing, when you were caring for the police department and the fire department, and not caring about dispatch, sir, is that staffing issue? Yes. Please.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I understand the history of all of this one, but I've been here 19 and a half years.
Sure.
Are we gonna stay on James City payroll? Are we going to York County? Because right after, not the same day that you send out the email, and I'm sorry if I'm,
No. Don't apologize,
but the
ma'am.
same day you sent out the email about us consolidating, you sent out an email
About raises.
I'm coming in
And
on
9 months
10 years
ago,
of
you were
December.
emailed about taking care of this center and helping us, and you cared about the police and the fire department, and we are social services according to
Am I
you.
losing that after doing the right thing all these years?
Yes,
Is that how I'm gonna be
Yeah.
treated?
I don't think so.
you're treating us, well, in your email, we're social services, remember? We're not public safety, so we didn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, I have it.
I understand the history. My
Can I say
concern
something real
is,
quick?
is how are we on
Let him
payroll?
finish.
We're not gonna house it in effect.
I think I have answers.
Diane.
I
Hold
know,
on,
but-
hold on.
No.
Everybody, let him speak first. Let him tell what he has to tell, and then we can talk to him after. Please, let him speak. I wanna know what he has to say. I really do.
Again, just so we don't miss at least my history of what I believe and how we got here, I thought I would share that. I am sorry that I'm making that recommendation today to the Board of Supervisors to consolidate. That's true, believe it or not, that's true. As many of you know, we went through this discussion in 2018 before my arrival, we went through it back in 2019 after my arrival. It's more than feasible to do it based on the study that was done then. I think that's even more feasible today. Employee concerns were shared with our board, both in person and otherwise, so I think our board heard employee concerns and service to the community during that time. In detail, I don't think that is terribly different today. And we decided in September 2019 to keep our emergency communications center, and I believe we have worked hard to do that. We began the RFP process for CAD and RMS, which to the point now, I'm not sure why it takes quite so long to get there, but the process has gotten us there, and we're ready to make that award in January, February timeframe, which I delayed based on staffing issues that were coming along with that. We renovated the center during COVID, so we had a new center, we were reinvesting it. We ordered a replacement UPS, a system that needed to be replaced, that ultimately took the bulk of the electrical shock that came through it. We were installing the second generator center, we were making the investments. We had hired a new director, we had created an assistant director position. I had you spending a tremendous amount of time with a new assistant county administrator and Brad with the idea that ultimately we were moving it out from under the fire department to get it to be its own standalone place. We were working towards those things. They don't happen quickly, and COVID's interruption didn't make it any faster. It's not an excuse, it's just COVID diverted us for a 6 to 12 month period of some of those things. but we were making reinvestments with the intention of keeping our center. Early last summer, our staffing, and you know this better than I, was as good or better than it's been probably in the last 10 years. Our staffing was pretty good last year. For a variety of reasons, a number of dispatchers left between June and December. We saw that coming. Chief Ashley talked with us. We talked with the board. We shared staffing concerns with the board, both in the departments that affected, police, dispatch, general services, regular updates to the boards of things that were concerned with staffing. So they were aware last fall. We did look at salaries. Salaries of police were $42,000 about this time last year. The average pay for starting salaries of police was above 50 in the region. So I felt like I had to make changes in the police side. We're not experienced shortage of police. We did make those adjustments to police salaries to get us caught up with the region. When I look at dispatch starting pay, we're the highest paid, I believe, in the peninsula for starting pay. Again, there's some career development, things change a little bit through that, but between Newport News and Hampton and York, our starting pay is above there. So I didn't have that same disparity of police to the region, or dispatchers to the region that I had with police. We did institute hiring bonuses primarily for dispatch outside of police. You're the reason we've opened it up broader to have hiring bonuses and the increased recruitment bonus, trying last fall to make a difference. To have you more involved, have people that were just thinking about dispatching, to give them a bonus to come be with us. And again, that's had a little impact, but not tremendous in terms of bringing people in. Again, I think my numbers are correct. Rebecca probably has shared them, or at least something similar. I think we had 37 people apply sometime in the December-January timeframe. I believe we invited all 37 to come for an interview. I think 16 said they were coming, so we invited everybody that said they were interested. Less than half came. Of the 16 that said they were coming, I think 10 actually showed up. And of the 10 that showed up, I think we hired 4. We had one through another process. So again, the numbers from 37 applicants to 4 coming on board wasn't great. We're in the midst of what appears to be a national hiring challenge, not just in government or in dispatch, but dispatch centers are certainly in the news weekly around the nation about hiring dispatchers. The region itself is struggling, and we're struggling. And again, I just feel we're to a point that staffing-wise, it is hard for us to make that better. Historically, I think you know 1 in 3 people we hire make it from the standpoint of the beginning to the end. So we hired 5 in January. We had the expectation that they all 5 could make it, but probably 2 of them come out in 9 months to be effective on the floor. We've lost 1 of those 5. We're down to 4, so hopefully we'll have 4. The odds are still we'll have 1 or 2 in 6 months. It's just the historical nature of it. It's not to say these 4 can't make it, but it's just, when you look at history, that's sort of what comes through. So we're 6 months from it being any better with staffing levels in our center. 6 months, at least. We've got a few folks that have held on trying to help, which we've been very appreciative of. We've got a few others that have indicated maybe an interest in doing something else. And I think it gets worse and worse for you that are covering the shifts. You have done a yeoman's job, I'm almost done, of keeping us to a point of getting through that. And I really appreciate that. We've talked about what you've done. We've worried about you, about the overtime, about not being able to take off, about having to cover those shifts. And doing it for a month is hard enough. Doing it for 4 or 5 that you've been doing it is more challenging. And the expectation that you're going to do it another 12 months probably becomes harder and harder in terms of what that impact is for you. Or at least I believe that impact on you becomes harder and harder. We did talk with our Board of Supervisors in-person meetings to make sure we had sort of written communication with them, and I talked with them one-on-one just in passing. But Chief Ash and Brad and I met with the board in February, early, just again talking about staffing because we were extremely concerned. We talked about a temporary solution so that they were aware of that, that we might merge temporarily with York. We decided that really we didn't think that was a good thing, that once we merge, it would be hard to undo it, right? Once we get there and get side by side, that would become more difficult. So we had really said we were going to stay the course. We had another 40 plus applicants in queue trying to work through to get more people to bring on board, to have more hope that in another 6 to 9 months it would be better. But we haven't quite got to that point because of February 22nd. As you know, our contract we're trying to do the improvements to the center, center voltage to the center that really has shut it down. What we thought would be days or weeks is going to be months and supply chain kinds of things. And I think it'll be July or August before I come back to that. But we're still going to put the center back together. That's still in progress and going to be completed. But it's just taking a lot longer. And again, so all of that has still led to the idea of our nationwide hiring getting better, our challenges on our side getting better. We've not made more progress in hiring. And I don't see it doing that, I just don't. And the primary reason I would see us not merging is because of our concern for you. We have wrestled with that. The three of us have struggled a lot with what it does to you. You're in a place that you have taken back. I believe you're in a place where you don't really feel like you have control of what's happening to you, and in some degree you don't. You have choices. But the idea of where we're headed, if the board approves it, will say, if you're gonna continue to be a dispatcher, it will be with York County and not Louisiana State. And that's unpleasant, particularly for those that have dedicated a significant amount of their life to this place. I think the service delivery will be different to the community. In some cases, it will likely be better from that situational awareness of what's going on.
Absolutely not. No, because the service doesn't suffer now. It's not gonna get better. How's it gonna get better? Because what are we doing wrong?
Again, you know the job.
I mean, what are we doing wrong that it's gonna get better? And better infers that we're doing something wrong now that needs improved
Let
upon.
me come back to at least on what I believe it means for individuals, and then I'll be happy to open it to questions, and go from there. You know, when we talk about, and your question, what does it mean? We talked very little with York County. We talked more with York County before, and then 2019. We have asked their director and their county administrator, the answer is yes. Would it be similar? The answer is yes. Well, my expectation is we will do for you all we can do. The benefits package we are preparing with our benefits consultant USI. We'll have something we can give you that says, here's where they're a little better, here's where they're not quite as good, but they're comparable in their benefits. So from a standpoint of benefit offerings, we'll have that list for you. We've done a draft today. I think we'll have it in the next few days that we can share with you, so you can at least see what that means for you. We've had the commitment that salaries would not be affected. Your salary will be what your salary will be when you get over there. And you would then fall into their pay scale or with that. In most cases, your job will be what your job is. There are a few others that may be in a role that doesn't fit exactly their organization, and we will have to figure those individuals out, but that's a few of you, not most. And to your question about leave balances, my hope, and I don't have that answer yet, is that we're going to pay for that liability, right? If York County, you would become, if this goes as I believe it's headed, you would become York County employees at some point.
Years ago, when Williamsburg went over there, they lost their sick time, they lost their leave.
Right, I believe, if I were on, their side, and those are some details we've got to work through. If they were coming here, and I had a group of employees coming here that had time, I would expect that jurisdiction to pay for it.
I'm in my sixties,
No,
it's not that
My
easy to find stuff.
intent is for us, if you have 1,000 hours of sick leave, that when you get to York, you'll have 1,000 hours of sick leave. That is my intent. I believe York will require us to pay them for those 1,000 hours. So I'm going to recommend that we do that, because I think that's right. I think that's important, and I do think it matters for employees. So all we can do to make you whole, I want to make it so when you're there, you're as close to you were when you left here as when you get there, minus being in a different place. And so that is something that we will verify soon. I don't have that with certainty today, other than my intent is for you to be as whole as you can be from here to there. That includes your leave time and your salary. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about this process. So you're gonna make a recommendation to the board, but you don't know how it's gonna, like, the impact on employees and such are, like, shouldn't we have those answers before we go and make recommendations? Like, how does the process work on that?
You know, again, for me, I believe it's feasible to do it. I believe the service to the community is possible. I think the impact on employees will be some, I think we can mitigate that.
But you think, you don't have.
No, I'm sure that, I think,
Do you
I
have
believe,
the-
based on the consultants that we will be using, the service to the community can be provided, combined centers. Nationally, combined centers are getting a lot more push than have regional centers. There are lots of areas that
But
have
where's
regional
your, like,
centers.
support, where's your documentation on this? I mean, I think a lot of things, and I believe a lot of things,
that
but that
report-
doesn't mean I can just go to the board and say, this is how I feel about it,
Yes,
so.
ma'am.
Because you've not really heard about it.
Right. They've been going through this since February, we're just finding out.
Again, we had
Well,
a
they've been going
study
through this
for
for
our
longer
center
than that.
in 2018, that provided Basin State is absolutely technically feasible. So that's the primary, can the service be done? That was 2018, you're right, you're right.
Almost 6 years ago.
And we're on a no-go protocol, that's delaying service. That's delaying service to our citizens. And as somebody who not only lives here, but my elderly parents live was not getting CPR instructions for 5 minutes. When, if he had called James City, he would have gotten instructions.
But you know, Sarah, they hit the room alert, so all the supervisors come running and do nothing, but so that helps.
During
You know.
working hours.
Yeah.
Normal
Yeah.
working hours.
And 2 people on every phone call, because they make so many damn mistakes, they can't have 1 person on the phone. They have to have 2 people on every daggone phone call and on a radio.
I just wondered if
At the same
you're
time.
talking about staffing, if we lower our standards, if you allowed us to lower our standards like York County does, run a criminal history, as long as you can do visa and you're good, don't go and do the background check like we do, and they do not, he hires right on the spot.
Yep.
We could have probably had a lot more people too.
Exactly.
You held us to a higher standard, so now you're not gonna hold. Yeah, now the citizens of James City, which I am one, has whoever in there, because we're not gonna hold the same standard that James City County used to hold for us. We could have gotten a whole lot of people in here, had we lowered our standards
There are
like
people
York
that we
County.
turned away from James City that work in York County.
There are people that
Yep.
failed our background checks that were.
Yes, that work in York County, because they failed our, and if you would have let us hire them, even though they had that background and they could have passed, as long as they could do visa, we could have had a whole boatload of people. So,
Our staffing wouldn't be an issue.
yes, right.
I have 2 questions. One, I am not new to law enforcement emergency dispatch. I've worked with police, corrections, and dispatch. But I'm new to this center as of February. We were offered hire-on bonuses for being certified. I've only gotten half of that. If I get signed off in 10 months when I'm a York County employee, how do I get that money that I've already signed a contract with you guys for?
We'll honor that.
Second, are we in any way still gonna be answering to Daniela or Rebecca? Because I will not work for Terry Hall. I will not.
Same.
I
Same.
am not going to work in a center that I have to get in line for a bathroom break.
Yep.
I am working for 12 hours. I'm not gonna work in a center where the man believes I, as a 12-hour employee, doing some of the most stressful work you can do, does not deserve a lunch, and I have to get in line to heat up my food and eat at my desk while I'm doing CPR
Let me
instructions.
let me expand upon that. Give me 1 moment. And why do they have to get in line to go to the bathroom, you might ask? Because they have 2 people on every phone call.
And they're
Every
understaffed.
radio person, every phone call person has a radio with them. So are we going over there to help York County get staff, or are we going over there to help James City? Because we can make it work. We've made it work.
Traffic stops and we're doing CPR instructions at the same time.
I mean, they have to get in
That
line
does
and
not
take a
show
radio
officers
to the
in.
bathroom.
That puts our people, my officers that I'm responsible for, in danger.
Every person on a phone is on a radio. Every person on a phone is on a radio.
My
I
second
want you to
day
think about
answering
that,
phone
former
calls,
police
I
officer,
took a phone call from
Mr.
my
Assistant
mother
County.
who found her
Every
son
person
shot his
on.
face off. I am not able to be on radio at the same time I'm giving instructions to this mother that just found the man that she raised for 18 years, that has had 4 suicide attempts before that she has called in, as she is trying to resuscitate him, screaming at me. I don't give a crap about the radios at that point, because that is somebody with living, breathing people on the other end of that line.
But unfortunately, we have to, because that's our job, over there.
Talk about 2 people on the phone, yeah. You got 3 people clicking on because nobody knows who's clicking on. Then you got 3 people stuck on the phone because you cannot get off that 911 line to answer another.
And just like yesterday, I took
911
over a call that was
Somebody
ours.
figures out who's first
Thank
and
goodness,
second
'cause the
on that
address they gave
line
was wrong.
before the third can get off. And you were talking about rebuilding. Are you still talking, when I talked to you this summer at the station, when they were doing the public thing, and we were trying to get employees, people to sign on, I talked to you and you said that you were looking at building the center over there on Long Hill. And I said, oh, okay, but don't say anything to anybody, because if they hear that, they may think of York. And you said, oh, that's the dead subject. You made it sound like it's a dead subject.
It has been.
And we hadn't.
It has been till when?
It has been till just February.
Any rumors of consolidation?
At least in 2018, we were given the consideration to say, hey, we're looking at this. You haven't even done that.
Nope.
So don't tell me anybody cares when you haven't even given us the consideration to say, we want to have this discussion, and then you're gonna say you care about us, and that's why you're having the discussion? That's not true. Well, I'm sorry, you can't.
And we get a notification this meeting 12 hours before.
Whether you believe that or not.
Because we've been doing what you're afraid we're gonna do
have staffing notes, I have everything right here that I wanna discuss when I get a moment to discuss our staffing levels. This gentleman hasn't been here,
The first one disconnects everybody.
so when, Mr. Stevens, when did you come to work for the county?
On each other because, I don't know.
Mr. Stevens, when did you become the county administrator?
2018.
Okay, so these gentlemen obviously have been here, and they know our situation as far as staffing. So your concern is us working, not getting time off. I'm gonna assume you're genuine, and that's your concern. So let me give you a little bit of history that you may not know about our center, and what we've gone through to keep our center and stay at home. From October of 2014 to January of 2017, we worked at minimum for how many, over 3 years. And we held it together. These people may not have known about it, because they didn't have to know about it. We knew about it. For over 3 years, we did it at minimum level for over 3 years. And we are all still here. And we all still want to be here. But you're worried about us working at minimum for 6 months? Sure, why can't we be the ones? We are willing, we did it for over 3 years. And straight, 3 years straight, we did it to keep our center together. And now 6 months is a reason to give us to York County? No, absolutely not, sir, absolutely not. If we did it for over 3 years, give us enough credit to make it through it now. We will band together. But if you do this, you're destroying the center. You are going, and people think people aren't going to leave. They sit up there and say they need the money, they need their job. People will leave. It's not going to be what they expect. We are not going to be manning York County the way they're hoping we're going to be doing. And we did it for over 3 years. We can do it. We have 4 on-call positions now. We have people in training, and now is when you decide we need to go to York County. If we can do it from October, and I have all the figures, and I am not lying to you, October of 2014 to January of 2017 at minimum staffing, I think we can make it another 6 months.
And we vet some of the people who apply. They're good applicants. We just gotta get HR off our backs and get them.
No, we don't need to hire, we don't need to change our standards. But you need to have faith in the dispatchers who have banded together all these years and kept this center running. Maybe people up and higher didn't know about it. Maybe they didn't know we worked 3 years at minimum staffing. But guess what? We made it work, and we're still here.
How do the people of James City, that live in James City County, how do we find out about it before you, bring it to the board and make it a done deal? Do the citizens of James City?
It's today.
Board meeting not today.
You can't.
It don't matter. Is it a closed
I'm-
meeting?
But I'm just asking, well,
I should have taken the whole day off.
Notice, it's nothing in the paper saying this is what we're discussing doing. Does the citizens of James City County have any say in what you guys are about to do? That will, if some, will feel like it affects their lives.
The answer is no.
No.
In terms of real opportunity to comment, the answer is no. But that would be true with many operational changes we make in local government.
This is not a little.
It's not a little change, it affects the lives and property of.
Life and death.
We are emergency services, and we help people who have.
No, we're not. We're social services.
With their health, who are getting attacked, and they rely on us to help them.
I guess I'll rely on York County dispatch.
This is not an operational thing that the citizens don't need to know about. This affects them just as much as it affects us. And for you to do this and not give them any kind of notification that you're gonna affect their livelihood is.
Because last time you got pushback from the
We're
citizens.
not finance, we're not general services, we're emergency communications. They need to know that the person who answers their 911 call is going to know their area and know their job.
Did you guys just decide this yesterday, and that's why we got to send an email?
Which part?
Over the last several weeks, the answer is yes.
The first thing right now.
I got some real quick. Much well.
We get an email about the
Who is
rest of the, employees getting all these nice amenities to their building. It looks suspect, to be honest, and I'm not the only one that said that, because we talked amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
It really looks suspect. It looked like, how can I say this respectfully, an easy way out.
And can I ask one more question?
Let me go here. She's got
Okay.
it.
Oh yeah, 2 questions, one definitely follows up with that. Why wait to send out an email about this, mentioning the hot topic, I woke up at 10 p.m.
Or had to work last night.
or had to work last night with literally a night's sleep of notice. Do you not think that that's a little shady to come out with an email saying, hey, we decided this, we've been thinking about it for a few weeks, but we just thought that
9
we should
o'clock
get
in the
all the
morning.
loose ends wrapped up before we tell you guys?
We were trying, again, I was trying to have more information to be able to share with you. Any notice I sent a day or two or three was still gonna create some challenges, but that is my fault. We talked about last week. But it wasn't meant to be discrediting to you, and it could not be used.
Well, you had to get it in before the meeting, I guess.
Yeah, second question. Your county is already understaffed. What do you think combining understaffed
Well, they're gonna give us,
is gonna do?
we'll be there to help them.
Other than understaffed?
This girl will be.
There's no benefit to adding 2
They're more
plus 2
understaffed
when
than
you
we
need
are.
12. It would be easier, and especially to get people in James City to apply, if they didn't have to drive an hour and a half to get to the center that they're supposed to be applying at. Or are you guys just assuming that people from Newport News and York County will apply to be James City dispatchers when they've never been to
Well, we
Towanda?
won't be James City, we'll be York County.
Oh, yeah. I know, but how are they even supposed to know where things are, especially with all the little teeny finicky back roads?
Well, it's not
that
just
only
York
people
County,
who
it's
live in
Poquoson
James
and
City know
Williamsburg.
exist. You're not gonna
Don't
get
forget, you
anybody
gotta
from the
learn
area
York
to
County,
apply.
Williamsburg, and Poquoson. Coming from somebody that came from York County, it's not fun.
Stacy.
I came from York County. I left York County for a reason.
And then,
And I came to James City.
I chose James City for a
I
reason.
chose James City because of the higher standards as being held. I will not go back to York County. I will not work for Terry Hall. Me and him have other things besides that.
Terry Hall runs it like a dictator. He
But-
thinks that he owns the people that work there.
don't say that, because
Yes,
they don't
I
believe
left.
that. No one believes that, because Terry Hall respects them, so they treat them differently.
He's a
Oh,
piece
like
of
the
crap.
son that owns
Yeah.
the Motorola shop?
No, he
that
doesn't.
gets all
No,
his stuff
y'all
from
think
Motorola?
Terry Hall is different because you have a different interaction with Terry Hall. Everyone's interaction with someone is different based on how they perceive you, Mr. Reinheimer, and Chief Ash. So, you get a different level of respect. So if you, 1 second, you don't think he talks to his people like garbage and cusses at them and treats
Same
them like
reason I
trash,
left him.
you're absolutely wrong. And I know Chief Ash doesn't want to believe that, and other people don't want to believe that, because they get treated with respect, because he treats y'all differently. He gives you a different level of respect, because he doesn't look at you the same way. So obviously, you're treated differently, but that doesn't change the fact that it is true.
And you're not females.
Exactly.
And you're not females. And you're not worried about he's not worried about who you're sleeping with.
Yeah.
Couple questions. So we have 4 trainees. Is there any point in training them with James
What, to be
City
York County
County,
dispatchers,
or
I
do they
guess?
need to just start training
I
with
will
York
quit.
County?
I think they will continue to train, I'll have to defer in terms of working through that, but I would expect that they would still continue to train and have a job at the end of it if they.
I mean,
complete
Terry
the
needs dispatchers, Amy.
2, have you ever been down there to sit for 8 hours on a shift and see how they?
The yelling.
Maybe you should.
The buzzing, the noises.
It won't be the same. And see how things work.
The yelling, the screaming across the room. Answer the phone! Answer the phone! Somebody, the yelling, screaming, mayhem, but we're lying.
It's not gonna be James City people that are answering his police officers, dispatching his fire people. It's gonna be them doing it now as well, and they do not
You know, they act more different when these people are
do
in there.
things the way that we do. Their officers.
Feet kicked up on the desk, sleeping in their chairs, relaxing at night, Terry's not there.
But the officer safety is not gonna be there. Our call history is not gonna be in there anymore, because we're gonna be learning a new system that isn't ours. All of our call
I
history.
mean, I'm just gonna
all of
kick
our
back
stuff
like this and go to
for
sleep
any
while I'm on
past
police
calls,
radio like they do. How
Our
about
record
that?
management system isn't gonna be the same. We won't have any of that information. And my last comment is, for those of us that have been there a long time, I've been there 22 years. I bought my house close to James City County. Now I have to drive 45 minutes instead of 5 minutes. My child's school is in James City County, close to work. My whole life has been built around working in James City County. So when I leave, and when most of these people leave, and they don't even go to York County, and they're gonna be really short-staffed, do we get a severance package since you're getting rid of us? Do we get, is there anything that we're going to get as you sever our relationship with James City County?
I don't have an answer to that yet, I will ask, I'll try to figure out more. I have made an assumption that many would go and some would not. Will we have opportunities in James City County that you're interested in? I would encourage you. To
That was my other question. Will y'all find find us or create us a position in James City County making the same amount that I make right now.
I can't guarantee you create a position, but I can guarantee preferential treatment in terms of hiring. Again,
What
not to say
about what I
we-
make right now?
Not to say we'd hire you for a job that you can't do, right? You've gotta have something you're interested in, we have an opening that's there, and that you have the ability to do that job, and we would give you preferential treatment.
Would I
in
make what I'm making right now if that's not the hiring pay for that job?
Likely. It depends on what a job is. I can't say that without knowing sort of the circumstance. If I take you from a position, making 40,000 to a group that makes 30, I've gotta figure out what that impact is there, but the answer is we would do all we can.
Shit, I'll go work at Park and Rec, make
And
what
my
I do.
last question
Exactly.
is, social services is short staffed. Are you gonna send them to York County?
They're not terribly short-staffed.
We're not
Well,
terribly
We're not either.
I mean, that's what was put in my email from you, or how short-staffed they were.
Is there a short staff to
Where are
York
they gonna be
County?
deputies?
I mean, everybody's short staffed. Why are you gonna send everybody to York County?
They didn't send the police department, the fire department to York County.
Yeah, right.
Yes, ma'am.
Why are we continuing to pay over $500,000 repairing our center if your plan is to get rid of us?
So they can have a backup.
Stop, let him talk, please.
It
Guys, let him talk, please.
does provide a backup center, and the cost related to repair of the center is gonna be on the contractor.
So it's for York County's benefit at that point.
And our citizens too.
You're not, what are you even considering them at all?
I just need to know where to turn my badge
Everything
in.
you're taking away, you haven't given any say in any of this.
You haven't had the police officers who we protect
They're
them
doing that on purpose.
say anything. The fire department who we protect say anything. You're not giving anybody an option.
They're doing it on
I know with my husband, he's an officer, he does not like York County people on our radio. He hates it because it is an officer safety thing, because we know if his voice is different, we know he needs backup. They
We're not on a
don't.
phone all the time either.
I left the room, so, and then had one person, 3 radios. One person on a phone with 3 radios sitting in front of them.
But they'll have us, right?
I want to go back on the concern for the citizens and the officers as well. In 2018, when all of this was going on before, one of the biggest things was what, Amy was saying about how none of our records will transfer over. That was huge for our officers. That is a huge safety issue. Like, our officers rely on that. They rely on their dispatchers knowing everything with that call history. And that was one of the main reasons it was tabled last time and was not to be brought up again, is what we were all made aware of.
That's what I said.
And I don't understand why our officers do not have the same consideration this time. I mean, things in this world with police officers have gone to crap. And officer safety across the world is a huge issue. And for them not to be able to have decades worth of information, that's insane. Like, that is huge. That is their life and death on the line. And they want to return home to their families every night.
Okay, I have a question, because last time this came up, Terry's idea was he was gonna build another big center with James City County's money, of course. So are the citizens aware that once we leave, it's like our water that we gave to Newport News, and now we pay whatever Newport News says. And that's what's gonna happen, whether you like it or not, and we're gonna put a bigger part of that bill for him to get his mega center that he wants, because they're already outgrowing his center, so you put us in there too. So now you're paying for a mega center, probably, I'm sure it'll be in York County, that James City will have to provide millions of dollars for this center. So there again, do the citizens know what we have 5-year, 10-year plans. Well, when he comes up and says, well, I need this mega center, what does James City do? We do whatever they say, because
Always
that's
has.
what we do with the water for Newport News.
And now we're understanding water.
Because they can charge,
They sold the water rates.
we were going to build a dam up there,
Again, what we have with Newport News today in water, we have a well system that JCSA controls, right? We have our wells, JCSA controls, no dependence on Newport News. We have an agreement with Newport News that they give us 2 million gallons a day when we need it at an extremely discounted price. That's the deal with Newport News. We didn't build, we got into a project 20 years ago, and we gave them $25 million to be part of a water project that didn't get built. But that guarantees us water from Newport News at about 25% of the cost they charge everybody else. That's the agreement with Newport News. Now, Newport News serves this complex in the lower half of the county. But what you're sharing is not, if that's the perception of the community, that's not accurate. Doug Powell and the board of directors control our water supply for everything outside of this lower half of James City that is provided for by Newport News from the well field. The challenge has been the wells are sort of losing their capacity. That was a thought 15 years ago. We have some capacity requirements. The aquifers are not in as bad shape today as they were thought they would be. Again, we still have a sustainable supply. It is our supply. It is in the ground. And the agreement with Newport News. is they will-
answering trash calls.
So, but you won't have with this, you won't have any say.
It's just some misinformation around water.
Right, I understand that, I understand.
Let me not get lost there. I just want to make sure,
Yeah.
we're not involved in Newport News. We're not under their
Okay,
jurisdiction.
that was my
We
mistake.
don't wanna mess the water situation up.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I wanna refer back to when you said that the starting salaries, they had to be comparable, that's why the police got the raise that they got. You did other things for the police and fire, though, other than the starting salaries. You were skipping over all that for retention. What did you do for James City Dispatch for retention? Because you said we were losing people, you saw that, and you recognized that was an issue last year. But what did you do for us for retention? You did plenty of things for the police and fire department. What did you do for the people, besides raising salary for starting and these sign-on bonuses that don't really affect us? What did you do for us to keep us here, since you saw that was an issue so long ago?
You know, the issue we did for all employees last year. which
No, sir, no, I don't wanna, I wanna know, you did stuff for the police separately, you did stuff for the fire department separately. Our manning was down 21% last year, sir, when I emailed you in August. What did you do to help us keep our people in the center, James City County? Anything that, like, did you offer us $65 an hour for overtime so we wouldn't be short-staffed? Did you offer anything to keep the people here that you said you realized was an issue because we were leaving? What did you do for our dispatch center, which is vital, as, even though you don't consider it public safety, we do? What did you do for us, though, to keep us, our manning?
Safety. I don't make that determination. You are a part of public safety.
What did you do
But
then?
you don't get the public safety retirement. That is a state decision, not.
I mean, I have your email,
No,
sir.
we're
I
part
don't
of the
have to
fire
do that. What did you do, though, for us to keep us here, since you already said you recognize the
Again,
issue?
we looked at salary, right, to make sure we're competitive in salary.
Now, what did you do for retention?
Well, I'm telling you, we looked at salary, right? Part of the retention is seeing how we paid you fairly. It appeared that we were, in terms of pay compared to our comparables around us, it appeared we were paying right. We were doing those things to make sure we weren't missing something obvious, salary being a big part of that. The other thing we talked about, and again, that we implemented were, signing bonuses, which we haven't offered in this county, maybe ever.
That helps
but not
retention? No, go ahead.
The people that were already here, what did you do?
What did you do for us that we
Nothing.
did for the police department?
Nothing, that's why we left.
I mean, what did you do, but the police and fire department, they're raised, they got bumped in starting salary, but they got things for the people that were already there to keep them there, so they would not leave. The police department got things so the police officers would stop leaving. What did you do for dispatch so we would stop leaving?
We did.
So part of this problem is because you didn't do anything
Sure,
to
it's my
stop
fault.
it.
It's absolutely Scott's fault.
No, but what did you do? I wanna know, you knew it was a problem, you said you knew it was a problem with us leaving, what did you, and I begged you to freaking do something about retention in August, and what did you come up with, sir?
Again, make sure we're paying fairly, offer.
No, for retention, not
We did. We did
recruitment. Not recruitment, retention.
We did not. We did.
But that comes back on us. But we're willing to work and give up vacation time. We're willing to do that. Like I said, we did it for over 3 years. Why don't you put your faith in us instead of y'all getting behind closed doors and figuring out what you think is best for us? How about that? Mr. Weinheimer, can I ask you a question, sir? And maybe I'm wrong in my assumption or my thought process. When you were the police chief, how did you feel about us going to York County? Maybe what you said out in public isn't how you really felt, sir. Because I thought you were against it for your officers. But now,
Sure, and what I told you all then, and what I told Mr. Stevens then, and what I told everybody who asked, was I wasn't gonna support of it, but I wasn't gonna jump up and down and yell if you decided to do.
well, because I'm gonna try to be respectful, I'm sorry.
And that was my comment.
Right.
You know, from the police perspective then, there were concerns that I believe have been resolved. You know, and you all are talking about,
Like what?
you all are talking about call history and the loss of 20 years of call history. That's getting ready to happen. We're going to the new RMS and we're going to do CAD. That same problem is presenting itself.
But we know these people.
No, it's not, absolutely not, sir, no. I'm married to the IT guy, I know better. Married to the IT guy, know better.
We're
I know
gonna have
better.
these issues.
Okay.
We're gonna have
My
to-
point
they might
was,
not be the same.
so can I follow up on my question and then before we get sidetracked on RMS? So you had, your concerns were only RMS, you had no concerns for your officer's safety, no
You all wouldn't let me
concerns
finish
for,
talking.
huh?
You wouldn't let me finish talking.
Oh, I mean, we got sidetracked, so please finish,
I mean, officer safety was a concern.
but it's not
We
anymore.
talked about that. I believe we can resolve all those issues. You know, perspective is one thing,
See,
right?
again, this is, I believe.
How do you
believe they don't know anything?
No, sir, I wanna hear how we can resolve those issues.
And I feel are not.
Do the officers know
So he's
this?
just gonna sit down and not
I
friggin'.
said you sit down and talk to your dispatchers to see how they feel about things, other than just talking to
None
the
of them.
other departments.
Other than
None
the
of them.
grocery store, I haven't seen him yet.
No, can I
None of
stop
them.
for a second? Hold on, everybody, please. I do wanna hear how you think the officer safety issue is not an issue anymore. Please, I do wanna hear that, people, please.
Back then, some of the issues were local knowledge. Dispatchers would have, going to York County would have the local knowledge that our dispatchers currently have. I don't believe that's as big a factor as I thought it was then. I don't.
But why? What?
Can he finish? Please let him, I wanna, please, please, let him, Diane, I wanna hear, I wanna hear it
It's what
all.
I think.
Yes.
It's what I
So
think.
how are you coming to that conclusion? Because we'd like to know. Because if it is actually the most beneficial thing, then there should be some sort of facts, not just feelings.
I don't believe it's the
backing
most
something up.
beneficial thing. I'm not saying that. This isn't something we wanted to do. It's not something we wanted to do at all. It got to the point where I felt like something we had to do.
Okay, so why? Based on what facts?
We were very concerned that our staff would rise to levels we wouldn't be able to answer 911. Then you start talking about safety for our citizens, for our officers and our
But-
firefighters. You know, that's what we were concerned about, that we were gonna get to that point.
Okay.
And it was a couple people walking out the door away from us getting to that.
What happens when nobody goes to York County?
You're still putting your citizens at risk.
They don't believe that's gonna happen, Amy.
They don't think-
disagree. I hope that will happen.
We just hired 4 people, and we have on-call people that we've never had before. We're actually in a good position right now. So
And we've
I'm not
never once had to
understanding
force any
why you're saying
overtime,
we're
mandatory
bad
overtime.
because
We haven't even
I would
started
rather
any of those
work
kind of
the way
things.
that we're working right now.
And you're already just like, give us
I
away.
understand that.
Because this is when, we come together, we make this work. We're the ones that are being impacted by all of it, the short staff, so we have ways of fixing this.
If we're willing to work, I don't know why you're not letting us. The citizens, is our job slacking? Are we not doing what we need to do? Have you seen a decline in our public service? Have the citizens not been getting the service they deserve by the amount of dispatchers you have?
No, we haven't done that.
Answering some
Exactly,
calls.
because you won't.
Exactly.
We did it for over 3 years,
We're
sir,
already
over
corrected
3
to the other
years.
side, So we're not gonna get to that point.
Because we are a family and we will figure it out. We will work together. We haven't, like I said, we haven't even gotten to the point where we have mandatory overtime days. We haven't even got any of that stuff. We're still maintaining. We have, I don't know, I just don't understand. It's like y'all are looking for a reason to get rid of us.
I hear a lot of talk about, oh, well, everything's all hunky-dory and there'll be nothing. And one of the reasons why, because I guess now it's a moot point, one of the reasons why we did not go with Motorola's CAD is it did not bring us the level of officer safety that we thought was necessary. For example, if an officer is going to a residence, there's no way in Motorola CAD to know that there's a warrant there. We have that now. And we were very insistent upon that because we care about those officers. And we want to give them every heads up. They don't have it. But yet, you're talking about, we care about officer safety. Well, decisions like that don't show that. And then my next question is, what are we looking like for a timetable? I hear all this, well, we're gonna consolidate. When? What are you looking at that's gonna be the transition date?
Yeah, and I don't think we have a date. What this resolution does is authorize us to enter into negotiations for the agreement. That's what, how long it takes us to work through that agreement,
Well,
I can't say for sure.
how much of that agreement are we gonna have to say?
A lot. I mean, we'll have
Do
this
you feel that?
conversation.
Do you believe that, or is that a fact?
I believe
Nothing's a fact. It's not a fact. There's no facts.
I don't know, I have to look into that, I don't know, I have to look into that. When are we gonna have answers, what are they gonna decide on today? And how is that gonna affect what we find out? And are we gonna find out about this more than a day ahead of when it happens?
Yes, what it does today, is what Brad had shared, puts us in a position of having those conversations and answering all those questions before we get into an agreement with York County. That's what it does. That has to start somewhere. That starts, I believe that will start today. Having all those answers before today, we don't have. We will have those answers before we sign an agreement with York.
Brad, you said location knowledge isn't a factor anymore. Before we came to this meeting today, they asked where our county complex is. I said across the street from Quarter Path. I referenced one of their locations, and they said that's out past where y'all normally work, right? They don't know locations. That is as simple as referencing a place across the street from where we are that is in one of their jurisdictions, and they don't know it.
And it's not like it's some unknown side road, it's Quarter Path Road, it's right off of the major highway.
And I didn't say it wasn't a factor, so it wasn't as big of a factor.
Is that because you're not the police chief anymore?
One of the other things that we have witnessed while in York County, we have witnessed a helicopter being needed for a call and never getting called. What if that happens when you're on a call?
Or your loved one?
You call for a helicopter because you have a patient in front of you who is going to die if they don't get to the hospital.
It's because
And
they're
nobody
so
calls the
big and they have
helicopter.
no room awareness.
It's chaos.
They don't know.
They don't know what's going on in their county.
They don't care about their people. Not the people in their room, not the people who work with them. They don't care about their citizens enough to call a helicopter for somebody who is dying.
No, it's chaos.
They're too
You
overwhelmed.
talk
And
about
everyone has
people,
Yep.
jurisdiction
you
to
talk
them being
about
They're too worried about all of Motorola's alarms going off and
they don't do what they need to do.
their
now.
311
They're not
lines
gonna
coming
do it
in.
For our citizens. They're not gonna do it for my parents, they're not gonna do it for my husband, they're not gonna do it for our people, and our people matter.
And just because when y'all walk in there, it's not utter chaos, it's because you're walking in the door. So let me send you,
Yesterday afternoon, literally, the supervisor was yelling, somebody in, and it.
Screaming at the top of their lungs.
They're literally yelling after like 5 rings, somebody answer the bleeping phone.
I mean, last night, they're doing,
It's just-
yeah, last night, they're not, they have a thing that says how many people are on phone calls. They had nobody on a phone call. Their phone is ringing and ringing and ringing. I answer their phone even though no one on their side is working. Cause they just, but they don't do that when y'all walk in the door. Literally, they have a guy sitting on the radio, kicked back with his head like this in his chair, sleeping. Every night, kicked back, sound asleep. And the supervisor don't say nothing, people sit next to them don't say anything, but that's okay. You know, cause y'all see what you see when you walk in the door, like, but y'all have to realize what you see when you walk in the door is not reality. That is a dog and pony show.
You guys are coming to us with assumptions, and I believe the things we're telling you are facts. We have
And we're not
data
lying.
counted to show you the data. You know, our citizens, we're taking care of our citizens. We may be down a large percentage, but we are getting our job done, and we are giving the best possible service to our officers, our firefighters, and our citizens.
We're willing to stay.
Have you had any complaints on us?
I just want to say, so when I started, I'm on call now, but I started in 2006. I was 19 years old. I had no idea what I was doing, and I've been with a lot of these people since the beginning. And they're more family to me than some of my own family because they know the ins and outs of my life. They help me through major life events. I mean, without them, I don't know what I would have done or where I would have been. So when I was told that there was an on-call position because, you know, staffing and people needed time off, I jumped at the opportunity to help my family because not having my family be able to take time off to spend with their loved ones and their family was important to me. I have 5 children of my own, and I work a full-time job. I have job security. I work a darn good job, and I don't need to come in and do an on-call position, but I do it because these people are my family, and I care about them. And I have the ability now. My children are old enough to where they can stay home by themselves. So I can come out and work time, and, you know, I do that. But I can't do that when they're in York County. It's a difference between a 5-minute drive and a 45-minute drive for me. I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like, when we're talking about, you know, the staffing and stuff and how, you know, we have on-call positions, you know, people like me, I jumped at the joy to have it. One, I love the job. Like, the job in itself is a true passion of mine. But I care about these people, and people like me and the other on-call dispatchers and stuff, they care about their family in dispatch also. And they're not going to let them fail. We're here to help them. We're here to let them have time off.
So one of the things York County has on their screens is like a rotating PowerPoint, and it says like all their statistics for the week or month or whatever prior. And you can actually see how long it takes them to answer their admin and their 911 lines. I suggest you pull that and look at their times and compare them to James City times, because Mr. Reinheimer's comment just now was he's afraid that 911 lines aren't going to get answered. Then that's like the number one thing that we're going to York County to magically fix. But if you look at the statistics, it'll tell you their lines don't get answered.
Their calls, of their call taking, but they're red because they're not the right, because they don't answer them in time, even though there's nobody working. There's nobody on a phone, but nobody's answering a phone. Okay, all right, sure.
Just like 2 weeks ago, we were working, and Diane Mason, I think, answered a 911 call because not a single York County dispatcher was on the line, but it rang like 3 times, and she answered it, and the supervisor actually yelled out, you know, it's pathetic that James City had to answer our line when nobody else is on the phone. Like, they even acknowledged that they weren't doing anything,
Because y'all are
but
there.
they just let it ring.
Let me go back. Before I comment, is it okay if I reference a recent call that happened? Just to emphasize how little they know about what's going on.
Just don't say names.
Yeah. We recently, York County recently took a call for a male who had been robbed, assaulted at a hotel. And we didn't know exactly which hotel he was at. We eventually found out the name of it, but we have 2 of these hotels. One is in York County and one is in James City, and are in 2 completely different areas. When they heard the name, and I'm assuming typed it into their CAD system, they pulled up both of them, but like they usually do, they put it in a James City, and I picked up on it to finish out the call. This man was following the person that assaulted him and stole from him on the interstate and was actively getting shot at while he was on the phone. I was listening to York County talk to this man the entire time, and he was telling him all this information. I'm on the interstate, this is where I'm at, this is where I'm going. This is the license plate of the vehicle of the person who just assaulted me and robbed me is. You know what they kept asking him? To calm down. Calm down. This man is getting shot at. Mr. Stevens, I don't know your history, but would you be calm if someone is shooting at you after you just got assaulted by them?
A James City officer to go and meet with this guy before York County would even like start a deputy that way to even like discuss the events of everything. Like I took a call just the other day, and they were clearly giving 3 Williamsburg. They said, we're on 199, we're near the Truist Bank, we're near the Walgreens, there's a 7-Eleven right here, I'm gonna pull into the Truist Bank. Williamsburg, or York County, has picked up the line, and I'm on it listening because, it could be either, but giving 3 clear landmarks that are clearly not ours, and they're like, James City, it's yours, James City, it's yours. So they got off the line, and I'm dumped with it, and it's like, this is not even, and it was clearly not ours, clearly.
And to finish my point.
And hold on, number one. In regards to what she's saying, Mr. Stevens, with them not knowing their area causes delays. This is one of the things that Chief Ash has always been more concerned with anything in all of dispatch and all of the fire department, and the police department has always been the same way. Delays cause deaths, cause more problems. If this does happen to go through, these things have to be seriously considered. We brought all this up the last 2 times the merge was talked about. When the phone calls come into York County, the way that they don't dispatch the same way our center is run. They have a specific person, we have a specific person on police radio, one on fire radio. We have 2 to 3 people backing up on phones. So when the calls come through, the dispatcher who's on the radio will get all that information from the phone, from the call taker. It's dropped, bam. They can dispatch that call out quickly. Not in York County. There is a delay, and I've sat in that facility and listened to them take a phone call and watched how long it took before the first unit was dispatched.
And many
One
calls.
of those calls was a structure fire. There was a working incident structure fire the lower end of York County. They had to call for mutual aid to the Hampton Langley base, which covers their lower end of York County also. They made that phone call before the first York County tone went out. This delay, I sat there, it was between 3 to 5 minutes before York County's and everybody's tones had gone off, and they were alerted to this possible structure fire, which turned out to be a fire. In the olden days of structure fires, I mean, I'm a past firefighter, been there I've got over 30 years experience as a firefighter. Back in the day, structures didn't burn nearly as fast as they do today. And we know this. You can look at any kind of updates with any kind of fire document that's out there, and it goes to show that the structures made nowadays are built with different types of materials that burn a lot quicker, a lot faster, and the firefighters have a lot less time. Chief Ash has always been concerned with the 6 minutes, get the station to the fire, let's get the call dropped as fast as we can, and I've supported him 1,000%. That has been my main concern. And I'm proud to say that James City County Dispatch can do that.
Our calls get
York
dispatched
County
so fast.
cannot.
Absolutely. You can look at our
York County
times.
dispatchers
Absolutely.
have delays in all of the calls, not just fires. I've seen them with EMS calls that potentially are full arrests, and a 2-minute delay in a full arrest, that's the difference between life and death. Plain and simple. Seconds count, and we in James City have learned ways to make the dispatching quicker.
As soon as a nature code goes
And
in for a medic call, we dispatch
And all of our
immediately.
dispatchers, we have a really, really good sense, and they call it room awareness. In York County, there is none, because there's total chaos. Because you have, right now, you have 3 jurisdictions worth of phones going off, and to top off that, now you got a 4th.
Go ahead and add a
So
fourth
you've
big
got
one.
extra bells and whistles and phones ringing, and their people are constantly screaming back and forth, back and forth. Half the time, they don't know if the phones are theirs or whose or whatever. So then you'll turn, hold on, and so then you'll turn around, and that's why you're hearing supervisors, somebody get that, somebody get that, and it's like, okay, you're already at a 30-second delay because no one's answering the phone. These are things that James City County residents should not have to go through or have to have happen if our dispatch is to remain the way it is. These are services that James City County residents, and I for one am a resident, would like to see continue for until I'm gone and dead, because when I know that I call, I know I'm gonna get that good service.
And the moment we put in a nature code,
Once
that
once
call
this stuff
drops and
goes
is
to York
dispatched.
County,
Immediately.
we don't know what's gonna happen.
There's no delay.
And then you're gonna have
I know
problems.
what it is before he drops that nature code. I know if it's medical. I know if it's police. I know if it's a hot call, based on the tone of his voice. The person across the room, past all the screaming, is taking the call. I don't know what they're taking.
Yeah. So, and to the police, it's the same thing. What she's saying is we can understand when and what type of call is happening, and we can get it out to the
Well, we can hear each
officers.
other.
And then we're able to keep a better eye on our officers where they have a lot more safety behind them, and we're able to get them extra things. Where in York County, it's not so much the same. They don't even run the tags. When their officers do a traffic stop, they have to run their own tag to get their information, unless they ask for it. It's not automatic. We run it, we look at it. If there's problems, that person's wanted, or that person has alerts, we let them know. We even go as far as letting them know, hey, that person has a concealed handgun permit. To me, as an officer, that's a big thing. I like to know that there's a gun potentially behind a car door, or in a console, or even on it. I mean, there's so much on the safety aspect side of this that needs to be looked at before you go worrying about anything else. Right now, yes, staffing is a slight little issue, but we're making it work. But for the residents of James City County, the firefighters and the police officers of James City County, they need to know that they have a great set of dispatchers behind the radio and behind those phones who are looking out for them. When they get to these other people looking out for them,
And it's not their fault that they're overwhelmed.
We
It's
don't
not
know.
York County's fault.
Let me come forward, she's had her hand on.
So, if we're gonna be fully transparent here, what is the benefit to James City? Not talking about the citizens. What is James City's benefit of not having us other than saving money? And I know you said that you believe staffing is a critical concern and all that kind of stuff, but
I've had this discussion with both you and Brad. What was the one thing I was telling you, because I get asked, when are you leaving? What was well, there were two things. What were those things that I told you?
Well, I remember getting CAD.
The CAD, and for us to be our own department. That's the only reason why I stayed here. I could have been retired. I would be on a beach somewhere, but I'd be retired.
To the county as a whole, is there a cost savings? There would be. But we made the decision in 19, it wasn't worth it. We decided in 19 to stay the course. We had been reinvesting in the center.
So the only reason is that.
Staffing issue, it's okay, what's the problem?
Not the issue.
And the jail doesn't, right, I am on the jail board member, but the jail is not a James City County.
which is part of the problem, because when that happened and I tried to call James City, they said it's not our problem. So either they're employees and you're concerned for them or you're not, because you seem to be cherry picking who you're concerned about that works for the city.
Not true, but
So, you know, I came to this meeting, so I'm gonna go back a little ways. I worked in Hampton for 8 years.
We need to keep it to dispatch, not to jail.
I left Hampton, came to James City County for a different type of environment. So, I'm adaptable, I think I can try to, you know, I could work in York County, I could work in James City, I could leave and go back to Hampton, I'm sure. I don't necessarily have a pony in this race or whatever. So I came here and I wanted to hear why. I want to hear the why as we're doing this. Why is this being, in the 8 years that I've worked for James City now, this is like this is constantly, and so I'm like, why are we here again? And I'm not hearing any benefits to it. I'm not hearing anything except for York County benefits. Like, how is this benefiting James City overall, as a whole, as employees, as citizens?
you know, our staffing, I have to go back in time and look at staffing wise. For me, the staffing's the lowest it's been since.
I mean, I have till 2014 if you wanna see it.
07, 08. So again, that's the impetus still. And what happens when I have 2 less or 3 less? That's the work, is where do I get what we don't want
So
every
you're
time?
gonna
You're getting rid of us
throw the
just-
whole baby away with the bathwater because we can't wait, like she was saying, 6 months to get
Some people trained.
staff, or, I don't understand.
Which is also the amount of time we can.
Have you talked to any other jurisdiction about this other than York County or these guys? Have you talked to any about?
I've talked to the other CEOs, the managers, whose systems, York-Poquoson,
Okay,
they are not displeased.
have you talked to Hampton?
No.
Hampton was the same situation we had. Their manning was so low, they moved into York County until they got their manning back up. Yeah, theirs was much worse. And guess what? As soon as they could, they got out of it. Because they didn't see a benefit. Otherwise, if there was a benefit, they'd have still been there, right? So that's why I'm saying, have you talked about it, or is this just something that because it's been a point that I think, now this is my perception, in all the talks that I've had with you and through the years, I've seen that, hey, we can save money by consolidating services. And that's where I'm like, okay, that follows what I'm seeing from you in the past. Just like with, our CAD system. Oh, if we consolidate, we can save money. But again, it's not serving our officers' safety with that. That's why we did not choose them. So that's where I'm like, have you talked to Hampton? Because I'm sure they would tell you why they're not still there. And that's where I think we need to look at that. Now you're talking about, our manning. Yes, our manning has fluctuated through the years. I've been there and under the headset for over 30 years, okay? I have seen, matter of fact, I've seen all of these guys up front, and you, come on board, okay? I've been there longer than anybody in this center. I've seen the good, I've seen the bad. But the idea is you don't make rash decisions. You investigate. Before this decision was ever even considered, in my opinion, common courtesy would have been for us to have a meeting just like this before it was ever even mentioned. Because that way you don't have people get butthurt.
Since you're doing it for us.
But that's where instead having that common courtesy say, hey, listen, I'm concerned because our manning is so low.
And I'm worried about
what can we do? And let me tell you what, you've got a lot of knowledge here. And you're not going to have that when somebody turns around and says, hey, Willie Mae. Everybody is not going to light up saying, okay, that's Duffy Drive. We know because she's... But you're going to lose that. Okay? And the noise, quite frankly, I go home with headaches.
Yes.
Because it's just ridiculous.
I have my migraines back.
We can barely hear ourselves amongst ourselves.
I can't hear police radio because they're so loud. I have them repeat all the time.
When I'm sitting in my center, notice I said my center because I've been there for so stinking long. I take ownership of it. When I'm sitting there and I hear somebody say, are they conscious? I know we got a medical call right there. But you can't hear that there because there's just so much stinking noise and it's all over the place. And that's going to cause us to suffer. That's why we do the way we do. That's why our calls are put in the way they are. We take ownership. There, I don't see that. And that bothers me. As a citizen and as somebody that's been doing this for so long, this is my profession. When I leave here, I'm not working in public safety anymore. Because it's put too many gray hairs in my head.
Officers literally say when we key up, what in the world is going on in the background there, James? Like they literally can't. Like it sounds like when we talk to them, they can hear stuff in the background. All of us are saying it. We're not making this up. This is not untrue.
My shift has had to adjust with me. At our center, I wear hearing aids. I can't wear them at their center because of the noise. So my shift has had to make accommodations to make sure
they yell at Jenny.
Hear each other. That they yell at me. They make sure that I know because I can't wear them at their center.
Okay, I was gonna bring up what he did, but the other thing I was gonna bring up, well, for one thing, they're the backup center for Hampton and other people, and there's hardly room for us in there. But the other thing is redundancy. There should always be a backup to the backup to the backup. The radio system, you guys, I can't, I'm sorry, I'm a little upset, so don't correct me. You can correct me, but
is it Alawite?
Suffolk has those.
Okay, so that if we go to the other system, we go to the system, they got a picture there. And I asked everyone in there, I said, what is that? You know, trying to learn what's in there. I'm not sure, we haven't been trained on that yet. It's the frickin' thing to turn over to the other radio system if our radio system goes down. Now, you got hurricane season coming up in
Cameras
June.
are too worried about
Okay,
watching.
I know, we'll still be there in June because it can't be helped. But in the future, let's say next year, we have a hurricane. Bam, Hampton's down, because it can happen anywhere. Bam, there's an active shooter, something, and everything starts going over. Or, bam, York County goes down, so are we gonna go in their little bus with, is it a bus that has a little headset and an MDT in it?
Their mobile command.
The little mobile command until we can get to, what is it, Alawite, is that like us? So we're gonna go drive over to Alawite in the middle of a hurricane or a storm, something like that. You have lost your redundancy. You have lost your backup to your backup. And I think that is a big safety issue,
Even
okay?
later on down the road, when the James City Center is rebuilt and it's all pretty and it's there as a backup, what
Just that they're
happens when
collecting
York
that.
County goes down and it's a 45-minute drive and there's nothing there?
In inclement weather.
Whereas right now, that center's up, York County's up, they go down, we pick it up. There's no delay.
We went down and they picked up and told,
Why we're making a permanent decision to a temporary situation.
And we have at least 5 months at York County, at least 5 months we have, at least already, because of these circumstances. Where we can train people, we can be in a better situation. It is mind-boggling that you are doing this for us, that's your reason for us, because you're worried about us. That is mind-boggling.
Are you ever going to talk to the officers about it? The firefighters?
They don't want pushback.
Because, I mean, you may see everything you did to try to retain these officers. They may leave now.
We will hear from the public, I have no doubt. We'll hear from the officers and the department.
Because the citizens are going to suffer if the officers leave because they can't trust who's on the other side of the radio. The officers, I mean...
And don't think the officers don't care. I've already had many officers reach out to me because they do care. They absolutely
And
care.
then, you know, being a citizen and my parents being a citizen and a lot of my family, like, when I find out that, you know, if it's the permanent switch is going to happen, that just makes me want to leave the county as a resident altogether.
As soon as this came out, there's so many officers that are already so upset and voicing their concerns, but it's for James, it's for us.
Why are we rushing to the board with this in like
Today.
an hour when a lot of this research hasn't been done yet?
Because I have to have the board to say they want us to do it.
But don't they meet twice a month, every month?
They do.
So why today?
So why today?
Again, I put it there to have in front of them there to start the conversation, so it's there.
So it's not a definite decision today, or
We're asking the board to push the direction of consolidation for us to go through all.
how are you pushing something you don't know anything about yet, though? You haven't heard from the citizens, you haven't heard from public safety, police, fire, besides the leadership, which that speaks for, you know, what's best for them in their positions, but it doesn't speak what, you know, Station 3 captain thinks, or, you know, the OIC right now would think.
We brought
Or the officer working zone 3.
And that's what you're taking to the board.
I don't think you're prepared.
Shoot from the hip decision made without, because I literally, like, I mean, I've said it, I don't really care one way or the other, but I want to hear legitimate reasons either way, you know?
Yes, sir.
I just wanna talk about, we were talking about the lead and everything. This is something coworkers, last year, my neighbor across the street passed out in his driveway, face first. He, wasn't breathing. night. It was about 9 o'clock in the morning, and my mom was downstairs working. She went outside to get something from the porch that was dropped off, and noticed that he was on the ground. And she got upstairs for me to come down and help him out. I got him on his back and did CPR while she called York County. I live less than a minute from York County Station 3 on Hubbard Road. You know how long it took them to get to this man before they could take over the CPR? It was probably about 4 or 5 minutes. From Hubbard Road to Bruton Drive, it took them that long to get there. Luckily, he made it, but I don't know what the outcome would have been had they had, you know, if I wasn't there and, you know, someone found him later, or someone called right then and there, and they still took forever to get there. I don't know. I've known this man for 23 years, and it was hard. It was hard knowing that the people that he relies on to help him out in the problem took that long to get there to help save his life. And I know that you keep talking about staffing, but I don't know if all of us, I'm sure all of us aren't going to agree to work in your county. If you think staffing is bad now, it's going to be even worse when you put it in a county, a jurisdiction the size of James City, on those dispatchers down there who are already working in 3 jurisdictions. That's not fair to them. It's not fair to the citizens here. It's not fair to the responders. And I know you keep saying that you're doing this and you're thinking about us, but it's hard to see when, you know, we're notified of this decision, of this meeting, and we're given it feels like we're being disrespected. That it's like, oh, all of a sudden, by the way, we're going to talk about this tomorrow. We have to work today. Do you think any of us got any kind of rest last night, knowing that this was an option again, the 3rd time in my career? And then we have to go work a 12-hour shift in a foreign center that we don't work in, that's lousy, a cafeteria on a good day, and still are expected to give the level of service that we expect to give to our citizens, and that our citizens expect from us and from the responders. That's disrespectful in my book.
You've got people here in between midnight shifts who came because they care, that worked till 6 o'clock this morning and have to be back at 6 o'clock tonight because they made sure they were here. And I don't know why y'all don't understand how we are a family and how, I don't understand. The fact that we're here and we're telling you how we feel, does that even sway you at all? Does that not even give you a moment to say, these people can do this? They did it for over 3 years. Let's put some faith in our dispatchers. I mean, if we're willing to give up vacation time to stay, why don't you let us do that, sir?
York County dispatchers are already overwhelmed.
They are.
And from what they have said, they don't want to take this on either. So they applied for a position at a job where they knew what they were getting. They get another jurisdiction, and how many of those people are gonna leave too? Because that's not what they signed up for. Now you've got half of us leaving and half of them leaving.
They lost 9 people while they were not here.
I'm not sure where this is a benefit.
And just to be fair, when Terry Hall says he's fully staffed, he is counting trainees, and that's not coming from me, that's coming from his supervisors, who told me. He counts his trainees as being fully staffed. When we went to Roanoke last year, and he told people he was fully staffed, he was counting 12 trainees. Y'all can believe whatever this man
Terry
says
Hall's
if
never
you
been
choose
fully
to,
staffed.
but you need to dig a little bit deeper and actually don't take everything he says at face value.
We have areas of this county where it takes, I've personally done CPR on the phone for 11 minutes. I've spent 11 minutes on the phone giving CPR instructions to a husband, waiting for EMS to get there. somewhere as close to where Lori lives. Because of delays in dispatching. It's gonna take an extra amount of time from somewhere that we're already doing. We managed to get Ross on that one. We managed to get her back long enough to get to the hospital and be an organ donor for multiple people. I saved multiple lives by doing 11 minutes of CPR. Her husband, in his 70s, was tiring out. He was so done, you could hear it in his voice that he couldn't do much more before they arrived. That wouldn't have happened if it had been anyone. And it's just where they live. It's their proximity from their station to the house. It would have been a different outcome if it hadn't been us. So the next time, the neighbor right next door to this man, if it happens again, that's not gonna happen for them. It's lives. Lives matter more than money. Lives matter more than vacations. They matter more than staffing numbers that are getting better. We have 2 people here who know what they're doing, they just need to learn James City's way. We have another one who is working tonight, who is progressing very, very well. That's 3 right there that I can foresee making it.
And 4 on-call people who help out.
4 on-call people who are willing to sign up so that we don't get burned out.
And I can tell you,
Staffing is not the issue that, it's coming back. We're coming up the other side of the valley from it.
I have a question for Chief Ashton. We do no-go now. Right? York County does not. So the other day, it took them about 3 minutes to convince somebody to do CPR. It was no, we're gonna start CPR. So we've been put through this no-go, and we're doing it. And we've seen it works. And it works. They don't. So how does that benefit to the citizens when we're going backwards?
I think it's one of the things that work out great, and I think I know my intention would be to implement a similar process. It took us about a year and a half probably.
Second question.
because York County is gonna do the same thing, right?
They still have flip charts because their CAD can't integrate into the software, their EMD questions or.
It can, they don't have it activated.
So we're wasting time there and we're going backwards. Second, our EMD protocols are, our pre-arrival instructions are actually, are doing something health-wise to get them through until the medics get there. Do you know what theirs are?
We're actually going to convert the system we're trying to buy is the exact same one they have.
Do you know what their protocol, what their, pre-arrivals are? Go outside and flag down the fire department, put your dogs up and turn your porch light on. Is that what you want for the citizens of James City?
I mean, does their CAD, when you put in a nature code, automatically stop a call? Isn't that was very important to the fire department?
It does
when we
not,
put
but
in a
I will
nature
say
code.
their EMD
All these things that were so
populates.
important, all of a sudden aren't important anymore. Isn't that funny? How they were so important.
Their EMD does populate, they do not use it.
Because
They have it for police and they have it for fire. They just do not use it because they choose to use their flip charts.
It's funny just how all these things that were so important just aren't important anymore.
Yes, because
we're
they're,
worried about
yeah,
us and
theirs
getting
is
time
not
off.
the same as ours.
It's just interesting that all these things that were so important aren't important anymore, just because you're worried about us getting time off. It's interesting.
And just coming from me, coming from York County to James City, because yes, there were reasons Terry Hall and I do not get along, because he's too involved in people's personal lives and what they have going on, other than what they do on their job. I came over to James City. I waited 6 months to come over to James City before there was an opening. I did not work, but for 4 months of those in Isle of Wight. I left Isle of Wight to come to James City. It's not like it was a closer drive to me. I live right across the street from York County. 2 minutes drive for me in York County. But I drove 45 minutes to James City because it was a family. I left in October because of my family, because my husband is an officer and they were going to 12s. And I have 2 young kids. And both of us could not be on mids at the same time. It would not work out. So I took that choice and left in October, but asked, can there be a position as a part-timer or an on-call to come in and work when needed? Because I do enjoy working there. I love the job. It is a family, and I love all these people. I took time from I'm taking vacation right now from my full-time job to be here for this. Like, I don't have to do that, but I care so much and so deeply for all of these people. And y'all aren't giving us any answers at all. But we believe, we think. I mean, what is it that y'all are going to help us do? What are y'all going to do for us? Obviously, just go to the board and say, hey, we're going to consolidate. Let's vote on it. That's doing nothing for your employees that protect your county.
And how much of the information we've given you or you that takes the board to do that and present to them?
Again, we will share information with the board. I am sure they will hear from community members and some of you as well, which is fine. That's how that works.
Won't it be too late though?
It's fine.
Today?
Yeah.
There's not a time for speaking today.
It's fine, though. Sit in and take notes.
It's fine.
That's at 1?
It starts at 1, there are a few items ahead of it, but it probably doesn't start on the dispatch discussion for 30 or 45 minutes after 1, so we'll work with
I'm
you.
not there at the time.
And it's online as well, so you can watch it wherever as well.
And I'm not a resident, so I live in Hampton, I don't get your,
It's on Facebook or it's out there.
So are we,
Be here in person as well.
is it safe to assume, no matter what we've said just now, you're still gonna go to the board and request to move forward?
We're gonna have a conversation with the board, the idea of at least moving forward with this consolidation. Again, we could have pitfalls if we come back and we don't end up there, but that is the direction we're trying to get to, with all, to put the effort in, and the end result. We've answered all the questions and those things, and we know the risks, and answered some of those things that are still out there that we would get to.
So when I walk out the door today and someone, a police officer or whoever asks me, Kathy, so why are y'all consolidating? The answer is staffing. That's the only answer.
How do we answer the calls going forward in time?
That's the only answer. The only reason we're leaving is staffing. That's what I'm gonna tell the police officers and anybody, citizens, is staffing. That's the only reason, right? I wanna make sure I'm understanding.
is this
Okay.
the first time you're bringing this up with
Okay.
the board? Have you been talking to the board about this, and this is the first time it's being voted on?
I shared staffing wise that I had talked before, giving them updates through last fall, and just.
When they weren't
talking
using
about
for
staffing,
retention.
General dispatch in particular, last fall. We did meet with the board in, February, talk about staffing, again, concerned, that we might temporarily at that point merge it with your, and just make them more aware of staffing and have the opportunity to have questions, and so it's not for them the first time they've heard it today either. We have been trying to get them up to date and keep them where we are and talk about options. We've talked about raising pay, would that make a difference, and how do we justify that ahead of, again, if our pay's behind, then raising pay and making sure we're looking for the help and recruitment makes a lot more sense in the.
Okay, so as an employee, I have the right to reach out to them through email or go to visit them. It doesn't have to be through a meeting or through, okay?
Look over here, there's a question.
So for consolidating due to staffing, I mean, we were having those issues, but now, again, you know, we have people on call, we have people in training, we have a whole list of new people to interview, is that right, Rebecca? So, I mean, we are picking it up, so I don't see how you justify that for the reason to consolidate right now. You see what I mean? So there's gotta be other reasons. I understand cost is probably more cost effective. Is that right?
It is more cost effective.
Okay, do you know
That is
by how
not-
much?
That is not the reason. Back to virtual comment, I only share this, we're talking about the CAD system, is understanding that things are more cost effective when you have a consolidated thing, when we share a CAD. But we were headed down a path of not doing that. We haven't reinvested in the center to save money. I mean, if we were, again, if my intent from 2019 to now was to not have dispatch, you wouldn't have had a renovated center, you wouldn't have a generator being installed. You wouldn't have done those things, because that wouldn't make any sense financially. I'm not one to waste money. I don't like spending my own money or the county's money in a method that I think is wasteful. So that's not the drive. Is it real? Will it be cheaper when we get to the end of the day? Yes, there will be less cost for the county to provide this service in a consolidated facility. Is that at all part of the decision? It is not. It is not part of the decision. It was in 2019, but the decision we made was not to do that, even though the cost savings was real.
So the
We made that decision.
consolidation then is just based on staffing?
That
That's
is
it?
what is driven
That's all?
for me.
Even though the staffing is getting better?
You know,
Or on the upward
whatever,
trend.
the on-call.
Is it they gonna merge police departments together too because their staffing's low?
No, they did things for retention for that.
So, I mean, I don't see it because we are getting more people. You know what I mean? So I don't understand, I guess I just don't understand how we're consolidating.
Again, we have.
Actually, when we do
We should fire
consolidate,
departments
we
do a
won't be
mandatory
helping
overtime.
James City, we'll be helping Terry Hall.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
His staffing
Give it
issues
to
are
him.
worse than ours.
Giving Terry Hall every power you can.
Or will be paying.
Their staffing issues are worse than ours. You can believe what you want.
Terry Hall manage his 911 center. So if you look at, you know, he's consolidated already with York-Poquoson and Williamsburg, right? We know this. Poquoson and Williamsburg is significantly smaller than James City. James City is as big, I don't know how big between York and James City, it's about the same, I guess. These two counties, and you wanna merge that into another center that's already having issues with staffing, with people, you know, they have, I think their minimum is like 8 on the floor. Think about it. 3 jurisdictions, so there's.
I think it's
3
7 or
people
8.
for police radio.
7 or 8.
3 people needed for fire radio, and then they have 2 people answering phones for York County, Poquoson, Williamsburg. He's gonna tell you he can do, you know, put us in there and run the whole thing with maybe 3 more people on the floor, so that's what, 11, 12 people. You're doing a disservice to James City because of that, because you're knocking out more people. Our staff, I already know because we went through this last time, he expects people to quit because he can't take on 28 people. He's not gonna be able to, that's too many. So we do expect people to quit.
Absolutely.
It's a given, people are gonna quit.
Yep.
You know, so for him, that's all fine and dandy, he doesn't care about that, you know, so these people will retire or find another job or whatever, and it fits right into his plan. That's, you know.
Yeah, I will say, he needs people to do the job, whether they're here or whether they're there, we need you to do the job. Do we need all 28 positions? No. Do we need 20 plus? Yes. So again, on our, yes. So again, on our commitment, everybody that wants a job, they will have a job.
Hoping that we can guarantee for how long.
Right.
Terry Hall hires and fires at will. So I'm just saying.
He very much
He bragged about firing, what, 2 guys or something, he said.
Oh, he brags about firing people. He absolutely does.
It gets joy out of it.
So, just to emphasize that their staffing levels in York County, do you believe if their staffing levels were anywhere even close to what actually ours are, they would have someone on a radio and a phone at all times, every person in there is on a phone and a radio.
Yes,
So
that's
if they're on York Fire, York Sheriffs, they're on a phone. If they're on Williamsburg, they're on a phone. They're doing both at all times. Do you think if his staffing was not worse than ours, they would be doing that? We don't have people on radios and phones all the time. His staffing is worse. I don't know what he's telling y'all, but he would not have everyone on a phone and a radio if it wasn't. They would not have to take a radio with them to the bathroom if it wasn't. They would not have to get in a list to go to the bathroom if it wasn't. His staffing is worse than ours, and all you're doing is giving him staffing at the detriment of us and your people and your families who live in the county. I want you to really think about, especially you, Mr. Reinheimer, who was the police chief, that person on that radio for James City County is going to be on a phone. Everyone over there, and you can go, we're not lying to you. They are on a phone and a radio. You cannot get up without taking your radio with you. You cannot get up and go pee. You cannot do these things. That is worse than our staffing. And all you're ultimately doing is giving him more people, but you're adding James City. So when your officers are doing a traffic stop and someone's on the phone, think about it. Just put your police chief hat back on and not your assistant county administrator one, and think about what I'm telling you. And what I'm telling you is 100% true. 100% true.
How do you feel about this?
Now, this is not something that police department's ever been in favor of, because we don't wanna lose the personal connection to dispatch. And that hasn't changed. You know, and I hear the concerns about officer safety, and we share those things. You know, but I also hear about the staffing, and I hear about, you know, the concerns that Chief Ash has, and that, you know, things are not, that in order to move forward and to correct the staffing problem, that this is something that we need to do. So I hear that too. So this isn't something that the police department wants, this isn't something that the police department's in favor of, but I don't have real operational objections to stop it.
Are you hearing right now that we hired 4 people that are in training, 3 are definitely going to make it, and we have on-call people that we didn't have before? Are you hearing that part, that we are moving forward
I
with
do,
that?
yes, and I hope that those things will work out, but historically, they haven't.
And we're still here.
I get it.
22 years.
Still giving your officers the same service as they always have.
It's not changed one level.
That York County does not have. They have a supervisor that's only been there 2 years, because guess what, they don't have anybody that's been there longer.
The level of service has
I
not
mean,
changed.
You have people that have
for
been here,
y'all.
most of us, over 15 years.
How did the staffing correct itself with the police department? Because at one time you guys had.
It didn't.
You didn't throw y'all away.
It hasn't, they're still short.
But not like it was, not like it was.
But now you guys seem to.
They invested in their police officers.
So you guys didn't merge then.
Our staffing problem has not.
So why don't you go to York County then?
Yep. Just-
Why is it any different?
It's not different.
It,
It's not.
It's not. We help you.
because they're police officers, they're more important.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Police department and their sheriff's department, it's not the same to
We're not the same
consolidate.
either.
To consolidate 2 different law enforcement agencies is not the same as the dispatch.
It's two different. It's 2 different dispatch centers, it's 2 different police departments. You have a
It's 2
sheriff
different
and you have a police. We don't do the same thing York
It's
County does.
apples and oranges.
No, it's because we're not respected, that's what it is. You
Ah,
don't value us.
there it is.
We're not valued, we're not respected, our jobs are not valued and respected. And that was shown when Mr. Stevens did not do anything for retention, nothing whatsoever.
Because we're social services.
I have your email. You did nothing for retention, not one thing. But you're doing this for us, Mr. Stevens, I get it. I understand. You're doing it for us, so we can take vacation.
On police radio, there was a foot pursuit.
Well, I hope they went on the phone at the same time.
After somebody with 83. Kings Mill's out there, they don't even know where they're going. They couldn't tell me on the phone where this unit was. Had my police dispatcher sitting right here been on the phone, would he have caught that traffic?
Nope.
Would he have known that we have 2 officers in foot pursuit? Would he have known if there were shots fired? Would he have known if somebody hollered out signal 13? Would somebody in York County know what our officers meant when they yell out signal 13? We know that. We know our people. We know the changes in your voices. 100's out on a traffic stop, I can tell the difference between it, whether or not he's gonna give a warning or write a ticket.
Yep.
We know that because we listen to you. We care about you. We want you to go home with every finger, every toe, and no extra hurts. And we're not on phones when we're on police because y'all's lives are important.
Your safety is our top priority when we're on that radio.
But it won't be when we're in York County.
If I am on police radio, I am personally responsible for every officer out there. I am not responsible for the fraud call coming in on phone. I'm not responsible for doing EMD. That's what I have my backup for. If I'm on a radio and on a phone, I might miss traffic that could save your life.
And I don't wanna overlook the fact that they have 2 people having to be on every single 911 call. 2 people.
And that's
And the
because they
reason for that
enter
is
wrong
because of
addresses.
errors that they make. If you make so many errors that you require 2 people on every single phone call, then you're the problem, we're not the problem.
And it's so loud
You're a
in there that
problem.
we miss what the officers are saying. And that's a problem.
They literally have a policy that 2 people have to be on every 911 call.
I've just got a concern because it seems like, you know, we're taking a permanent approach instead of a temporary fix. If you have a mouse in your house, you don't burn it down to get rid of the mouse. Instead, you get a mousetrap. What would make sense in my judgment, of course, I'm not in your shoes, but it would be like, hey, we're having this meeting right now, and if things don't change in a year, then we'll pull the trigger. But we're seeing a trend, so let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Instead, let's be good stewards and say, hey, listen, we can have both. Because you as well as I know that if we go to York County, the county's still going to have to pay York County for dispatch services. So instead of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, instead let's say, hey, listen, we've had this meeting. You guys know where we're at. You know, we're running on empty. If we don't get the tank back up, we got to pull the trigger. So it's a warning shot to all of us to say, hey, listen, hang in there. If you're truly invested in this place and you want to see it stay, hang in there. Don't jump ship now. We're trying to get you guys back as quickly as possible. In September, you guys are going to be back in your center. Life is going to be good, and hopefully you're going to have plenty of bodies.
And a couple of trainees released.
And a couple of trainees released. But instead of saying that, what we're hearing is, oh, things are not looking good, but we don't have faith in the fact that you guys are going to be able to pull yourself out of this, like historically you've done in the past.
For 3 years.
So we're going to just pull the trigger.
And Ursula, it's not faith in you or folks in this room, it's the faith in our ability to recruit people to build the board.
We just did.
They're sitting here.
We've got 3 of them right here.
And nobody in this room thinks they'll leave in 3 months or 4 months.
Well, without the threat of being York County?
Ask them. I've been here for 3 years. I don't plan to leave. But I've been here for 3 years. I've done pretty darn good. But now you're shipping us off to York County. I didn't choose York County. I'm closer to York County. I knew people in York County other than Stacy, mutual friends with Stacy. Same reason Stacy left. I don't want to be with Terry Hall, who, it's ridiculous. You're sending us to a place that don't want us there. Their people don't want us there. They like their center the way they are. They don't want to add another jurisdiction.
I started with James City County as a volunteer in 1987. Still in high school, started with the fire department. Went through a couple of years as a volunteer, went in 4 years in the Air Force, got out of the Air Force and came back here. And all I wanted to do was work for James City County. I wound up getting the job and working with them. I've been employed since 1995. I have spent, I can't tell you the number of hours I've dedicated to James City County, for James City County, and for the residents of James City County. I want to continue that until I retire or die, and that's all there is to it. I don't want to go to work for York County because I've never wanted to work for York County. I live in James City. My friends are in James City. I want to take care of those people. I want to take care of the citizens. And I want to see James City continue to flourish. If I go to York County, I see nothing but problems happening. And I see problems, and this will kill me. I mean, it will put me, I don't know what kind of condition I will have if it ever happens. If any of my firefighter brothers or sisters, or my police brothers and sisters, now that I can call them that, because I've been in dispatch long enough, if any of those guys get hurt because of a delay or a safety concern on a call, I'm going to just, I don't know how I'm gonna get through it. Because I've dedicated the majority of my life to this county and keeping things going in a good, positive direction, in a safe direction. And I think when I was with the fire department, I did a good job. And I hated to see me leave. I'm glad that I was able to find another department within the county to continue working for the county. But now, it's like, hey, sorry, we're done with you. That's kinda how I feel. And I mean, it's hard for everyone else, and I agree how everybody, all these old people that are here, employees, not old people, but older employees, I understand how they all feel.
But if staffing for us, who have been managing without mandatory, is a concern to you, why is VPRJ not your concern when you have 2 officers when you should have 17? Hold on. Because I have personally been assaulted and had blood drawn and been left for an hour with an open wound to serve food to inmates because we physically did not have enough staff there to let me go and wash it out. So we've had several staff, even in my time there, who, if they haven't had heart attacks, they've been taken out EMS because doing 90-hour weeks is not feasible. The inmates aren't safe. Officers have told me they don't feel safe coming in because they can't have their weapons on them, and honestly, I wouldn't feel safe either. Officers have waited in the Sally Port to bring an arrestee in for up to 2 hours at some point. So why are they not being consolidated with Hampton Roads Regional or something, but us, who are not at mandatory 90-hour weeks, it's a massive concern. What is James City County, the county administration, getting out of getting rid of us?
Yeah, the county administration, Scott personally, is nothing, right? That's nothing.
So what's the motivation other than staffing?
Staffing is the motivation. To the county as a whole, is there?
I'd be somewhere, but I'd be retired. But now it's like, why did I stay? Because now it's just all gonna go down the drain. And that's kind of disheartening to me because I'm like, I stayed for this organization, you know, and that's where I'm seeing people, you know, that have less time than me sitting there wondering where do they go from here, because the working environment is not as good there at York County as it is here. The people don't have that familial aspect of their lives. You know, when my wife got sick in 2004, this bunch gathered around and did everything. When she had cancer, all of these things, all these milestones in our life, we go through with each other. Whether it be divorce, marriage, you know, kids graduating, whatever. We are there together. And I'm not seeing that. That's why we band together in the tough times and just plow through. We help each other out. And I think you're going to lose that, and that's where, again, that temporary or that permanent solution to a temporary problem is a big concern for me.
You know, I think, one, I appreciate the back and forth, and we'll come back in a moment. I will tell you, it's not going to change our discussion with the board today. It's not going to change that I think that's something worth pursuing. It's not going to change the process of talking through it. But I also want you to know your comments today, they do matter, and they do weigh on me, and they do make me question, and do make me want to come back and say, well, what about this and what about that? There's not any consolidation that would occur that things aren't going to be different. So if it moves forward, and I still lean that way, it will be different. But before I get there, and we do it, it's not a done deal. We want to make sure we have the detailed questions. What does it mean to you as an individual, to dispatch as a service, safety for our police and fire, because that's certainly important in service to the community ultimately. Those things all matter. It wouldn't have mattered, in my opinion, when we started this conversation. It was gonna be uncomfortable and emotional and disturbing and all those things that are going on from our side and yours. And you can say we don't care, that is true. You may not believe me, but I can tell you, we have struggled over the last week or two talking about this, and should we be doing it? We've struggled. From Chief Ash to Brad to I, we've involved the police chief over the last week or so he's aware, and what he said and what he has said before. You know, he doesn't like the change, but he thinks it can be overcome, at least in some cases, and we need to make sure of that. But if it goes forward, it's a little bit different. And I want to tell you, it won't be different than it would be. And that is where other centers have been combined. That has happened. There are jurisdictions significantly larger than us that they combine 911. I've been where a county and a city overlapped, North Carolina, when they combined dispatch centers. It took a while for people to get there because it is different, and it is. And I know it has a toll on it. I know it makes for sleepless nights. And I know those things. I'm not immune to them. They do have an effect, and it does matter. I am worried about you as employees and what we do to you. Believe it or not, I am. And I am worried about service to the community and the safety for our folks that are responding. So those things that are important to you, you know them a little better than I, but they matter to me too, because you've lived them and been closer, and I haven't lived them day in, day out like you have. Again, I'm happy to stay and talk more. I think the commitment would be, we will share a lot of this with the board. I won't say all of it, I've got to get back and think through how we present that. But the board will hear that you have those concerns from us, and I assume from you. They heard last time. And so I expect that they're, you'll be willing to hear that as well.
So no decision is made today, so I can watch this on YouTube and then I can turn around and email each and every one of these, we can counteract.
My intent has been to ask the board to authorize me to move forward. There's still things that we can't through any of those kind of discussions where the board authorizes it, and we get to the end, it still doesn't make sense. I mean, that is possible. Basically, the board authorizes me to move forward. It doesn't make it done until it's signed with you. You have more to do.
I know I've said a lot today. I mean, that's just who I am. So I have two last things to say. I only had one, but I wanted to comment on what you had just said about when you consolidate centers, it takes time. How long has Williamsburg, York County, and Poquoson been consolidated? Because they're still not. They still have, like I said, they still don't have the staffing. They still have people on phones and radios. Keep that in mind. So it takes time. They still haven't even gotten there yet for the people they have combined already. So please keep that in mind. And two, I wanted to just end with, you're telling us you can find other jobs for us in the county, and people here are still willing to say, no, you can help us find other jobs in the county. But we're not sitting here going, gee, maybe I can find an 8 to 5 Monday through Friday job in the county. We're not. We're still fully invested in working shift work and holidays and weekends because we care about our citizens, we care about our jobs, we love each other. We're not sitting here going, oh, that sounds nice. Maybe he can find a cushy job. Maybe they can help me get a job over there, social services, working with the weekends and holidays off. We're not doing that, sir. We're invested. We care about the citizens. We care about each other. We care about.
You are a special group, and it takes a unique person to do what you do.
But for us not to sit here going, oh, well, maybe we can define something that benefits our families. We're not. We're not.
Was if you want to stay here, we have an opportunity or someplace that
Right.
you can fit.
But I don't think anyone in here sitting here going, oh, gee, maybe I can find this desk job. Maybe they can help me. We're still committed to our weekends, holidays, shift work to serve this county of James City County. So please keep that in mind.
I just have one more thing about staffing. Because you said that you don't expect all of us to go there. And
There's a place for all of you, but I feeling was strong enough that I would say all of you would.
But you said that and with York County, 3 more of us could make their staff a whole, right, with James City County. Now, our minimum staffing right now is 4. So we're gonna go down to only 3 extra people there instead of the 4. You're going to less staffing, so why don't we just stay here with less staffing? I mean, you're going to less there. They would only need 3 more people, where we have 4, we require 4. So if we're going to less staffing there, why don't we just stay where we're at while we build people?
my sense would be, and you're probably gonna tell me that's not how it works, if three of you are tied up, there is somebody answer a phone call. Where three of
They're
us
on the
are tied
radio.
up. Well, there's other people in the room that's very.
It's not the same. They have people, literally the other night, they had one person with a radio in their ear, on the phone, and 3 portables for other radios that they were listening to. They were on 4 radios and the phone. That's not how we do things, and we only require 4 people to do it.
And the one that's on the radio, their stuff is blasting out, and you have 2 or 3 people
Can't even
that
hear
are on the
yourselves.
phone, on the radio, now he hears the radio blasting out at the same time.
But if it's okay to have less staff there, why is it not okay with our staffing is here?
I still believe that that's on behind you to answer, but that might not be your opinion, that doesn't have to be your opinion. Like, in your opinion, it doesn't have to be, you three are tied up, the 4th person or the 8 people who can't do it. That's what you told me.
Well, I mean, they're screaming
They're
to people
doing
to answer the
other things
phone.
because they have radio, every single one of them have a radio and they're already on the phone, so I don't.
But if we're in the center here, there absolutely is an opportunity.
We aren't
for-
screaming at each other across the room, answer a phone. It doesn't happen.
We've never missed phone calls where a phone call was, that's what I'm not understanding, like, they have phone calls roll over, when we're in our center, there's a rollover. If there's rings too many times, it rolls over to us. We
Vice
get them from
versa.
them. They don't get them from us, ours don't roll over. We answer every single one, even if there's an accident on the interstate, we get 50 calls coming in, we answer them. They do not. I'm not
They don't answer
understanding
them, they do not.
how it's helpful to staffing.
Just, to follow up on that, she's right. The staffing is an issue over there, it always has been. Yeah, we're having staffing issues too, but again, we are working on it and we do have more people coming in and others in line. One of the things to consider if we have to be consolidated with York County, is all of our staff is gonna have to learn jurisdictions for York-Poquoson-Williamsburg. That's a lot. That is a lot to learn for one person to train in all of that. You have to learn how to speak on their Williamsburg Police and Fire radios, their Poquoson Police and Fire, their York County Police and Fire. So we have to learn all of this. This is not easy. It's already hard enough to do it for just your own jurisdiction. And then you wanna throw us to the wolves, because that's what he is over there. That's what they are.
And then they're gonna have to learn the different phonetic alphabet.
Right, well, I mean, and that's minor compared to all the other stuff.
Well, yeah,
you know?
yes.
And then my second thing is, this has been in discussion, and I asked this yesterday. Who was in this discussion? Who all were in this discussion of consolidating?
I don't know about who all, Chief Ash, Brad, Police Chief, and I have had conversations over the last several weeks about it being what we would have to do. So we talk about who all, that's it.
So why wasn't Rebecca and myself included? This is why haven't we been included in these thoughts?
My fault, I don't have a good answer for that.
You would know staffing was better if you talked to them.
Brad's answer was, you just weren't.
My fault. It wasn't intentionally to keep you out of it, just to move.
Oh, that's what it looks like. Because you probably.
But you would know there's
already
not
get
that big
this
of a problem
feedback
anymore,
from
you
us.
talk to the people that are in charge of
But
this
it's been,
department.
it's been a very short timeframe in that.
But how can you take it to the board if you haven't even talked to the director and deputy director of the actual department? Like, I don't understand how it can be such a, definite on the agenda for the board meeting if you haven't even talked to them.
But it's not disrespectful.
Disrespectful how you guys treated us in doing this. Very disrespectful. I'm not none more than that. And here, I asked her to ask you guys to do a report and tell communicators how important we are.
And back when they were doing the stuff for the police and fire department, and I know you were asked many times to do something for retention for dispatch, and we're not discussing that right now. Is that what you said, Mr. Weinheimer? We're not discussing that right now, when you were working to get stuff for the police department. Even though you're assistant county administrator over all of us, that's not what was said. When people kept bringing up, I think Chief Ash brought us up more than once about helping do something for us. We're not discussing that right now. That's not on the table right now. And like you said, that's your fault. So we all have to suffer because y'all didn't want to put us on the table when you were doing stuff for police and fire. I mean, but that's your fault. Okay, well, you can go work for York County. I mean, maybe you should, not us.
Trying to do their job without
So,
us.
I mean, it feels so disrespectful when something could have been done, and when you, and maybe you didn't say, we're not discussing that right now, but I'm pretty sure when stuff was coming up for police and fire, when you all did the things you did for retention and recruitment, it was brought up, did dispatch, and nothing happened, so maybe you did say, we're not discussing that right now? Like, that wasn't important? Yes, sir, please.
What's your question?
Well, did you say that you weren't discussing us?
I don't recall if I did, but I'm not saying I didn't, because we weren't. At that point, we were discussing fire.
Yeah. Even though you were aware of our staffing issues.
Staffing issues here, staffing issues in other departments, looking at your salaries.
Please don't, because you're not shipping anybody off to York County besides us. Please don't. I mean, are you going to send social services and combine them? No, sir. So I'm talking about us.
What I said before, my commitment is to listen. I have done that. We will do more listening. I will certainly try to relay those comments. I'm sure the board will hear from you. I'm sure we'll hear from police and fire. I'm sure we'll hear from the community. While our discussion with the board changed today, we will still have the conversation with the board today. We will still be pursuing it. And again, we will have more conversations if you'll talk with us about it going forward. We can answer those specific questions.
Are you gonna be honest with the board and tell them that we are on the up and up, we're going up on staffing, and we're not at it where we were before?
Yes. I'm honest in what I do. And if I have a question, anybody's integrity in this room, mine's questioned significantly, and that's fine. But I am an honest person. Will I relate everything exactly how it was presented? No, because we all hear things differently, and I do work to summarize and share those comments, but my intention will be for them to know your concerns and where you're.
I'm just making sure, because your issue is staffing, so we don't have an issue with staffing like we did, so I just want you to.
But the numbers don't say that. When you talk staffing, it is still as bad as it was 10 or 15 years ago. It got better last June. It was almost as good as it's ever been last summer. It is not better on numbers today yet. It's just not. And that is what is really concerning us from the standpoint. And so, what will I share, the district feels like staffing is recovering and they can handle it and provide service. I share the district believes they provide a better service to this community and to our first responders than they will get if we're at York. Absolutely. And those kinds of broad statements of what I've heard today, absolutely our board will hear that from us. I'm sure they'll hear more specifics from you. And the only thing I can commit is it won't get done until we have more conversation, right? We won't say you're there until we try to answer those questions. And there'll be some things that we can answer. There'll be some things that if we consolidate will change. But the idea of officer safety and community response is important, and what happens to you is important.
Will they be made aware that this discussion took place without even talking to the director or the director of the
They will
department?
know
To get the right
discussion
answer?
took place, I'll talk to the employees much in advance.
The director, the
Yes.
assistant director?
If that's important, yes. We talked with the director and the assistant yesterday.
Yes.
Yes.
But
We
not
talked
when
with
it was
this
being decided that it would be.
Again, it has been a fairly short fused conversation based on our center not being repairable for a significant period of time and staffing not being better, in my opinion.
Right, but you don't know the money didn't ask the person who's in charge of that department.
I've got to go. I'll take one more comment, but I have to get ready for the 1 o'clock meeting for the board. So
This is more for the chief, so I'm not even sure if you're needed. Are you guys ready and willing to give up your control as far as being a phone call away to just say, hey, I don't really like how we're doing this dispatch. Can we change to this? Or, you know, if you guys have a problem now, you can easily take it to Rebecca and it trickles down to us fairly quickly, but that's gonna change. And are y'all like ready?
And I can tell you there, we won't have any say-so.
Because it's gonna be
It'll
Terry's
stop.
day. Or, you know,
It will stop at Terry and that's it.
When the computer on, if it goes off, when the computer goes down, if that comes off by accident, and we couldn't even turn it back on because none of them knew which one it was, because only Brian and Lee knows which one goes to what. And so they had to squeeze or down a whole computer because they couldn't turn it back on.
but I just think about how many times since I started 7 years ago that we've changed the way we dispatch our fire units. I mean, it's been at least 4. Are you guys ready to not have a say in that at all? Because it's not going to be this quick, easy change that, you know, and it's not a quick, easy change.
Right, some of the other things will be
mean, just think of how much Dr. Luca does on your end, and think about how much he does on our end. Like, he listens to all our 911s. Is he ready to just be thrown to the dust? Like, he's so invested in us. The man, like, is here all the time.
But we won't work for James City, we work for York County.
So he won't be our meeting.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, are you guys ready for that? And like, Chief Dahlman, are you ready for your units to not be able to see us without plexiglass between us?
Actually, we're all the way in the back, we won't see them.
Like, they ring a bell to get their dispatcher's attention like they're at a gas station or a hotel.
We probably won't hardly ever see them.
They're not gonna come down.
They're not gonna come down, we're not in James City County.
We're not James City employees.
My question is once we go over to York County and Terry's in charge of all of the dispatch center, how much say are you gonna have in policies anyway?
None.
None. Because we're not gonna be your
You're gonna do
dispatchers.
what they wanna do, they do the same thing throughout all the different jurisdictions, okay, so.
Yeah. You're gonna have York County
How much say are you
dispatchers, not
actually
James
gonna
City.
have on how dispatch operates?
I would say none, because we don't work for James City.
So
We're
from an
not-
operational standpoint, you said you.
There's a policy committee, Ryan mentioned.
Yeah, but who has the overall say?
Because we very rarely say no to you guys.
Again, we don't know.
I know that the relationship is gonna change, I know that policies are gonna have to change, I know that operationally things are gonna have to change, yes.
But nobody knows.
Those are the things that we're gonna have to work with.
Again, nobody knows.
That's what the discussion this afternoon.
That's part of the process that sets it forward.
It's set, it's not final.
Pipe up and say something.
But how will we know till we have the conversation, right? And so, we wouldn't have had those conversations to keep y'all out of it, to get to all the answers, but then surprise you where we've been working on it for 4 months to get there. It does take a starting point, this is that starting. The staffing is the instigator of the starting point. Even though the sense in the room is the staffing is better, the numbers don't show that yet. And the idea that it takes 6 to 9 months to get somebody on the floor, while we have 4 coming, we still have another big group.
I think the sense in the room is that we'll figure it out.
There's gonna be a hiccup, us learning our ways, or learning their ways and getting things together. I just hope somebody else doesn't take more hiccups.
I think the sense in the room is that we'll give up some vacation time to stay at James City County Dispatch Center. If that's what it takes.
Was there anything that could have been said that you were like, I'll recommend against it, because it just feels like a notification and not a discussion?
Gosh, it sure feels like a discussion from where I've been, that we have said, I reckon, gotta have the board thinking it's the right direction to go to, before we spend a tremendous amount of time and emotional effort for all of us to get there. But that's, we don't have every point answered, and we should. We have a study that was done, I don't think anything significant will be different from that study. We had a ton of input last time, I don't think we'll hear things that are terribly different, but we still want to answer those questions about, that you brought up today, the things that we can live with and the things we cannot, and the policy committee weighs in, and we've got to have that conversation to get there.
It seems like the same questions that we asked 2 years ago and the 2 years before that.
Yeah, but the staffing was 12 years ago.
The questions that we asked are the same questions we asked 2 years ago and the 2 years prior to that. It's very similar, like, similar.
So if you've been our county administrator in 2014 to 2017, I guess we would have been gone then, because we managed it for over 3 years. And if y'all gentlemen had been, I guess we would have been gone then too, because we did it for over 3 years with minimum staffing. Over 3 years, we did it.
And when I started, we knew that staffing issues were coming because people retired from.
But people still
stay.
stay.
People come back from retirement. Sean sitting over there is on call, came back from retirement. Paula delayed her retirement so that we would be in a better position, so that nobody.
Your county's not going to do that for y'all.
Well, I'm sorry to have to leave, I do appreciate the comment, I will, they matter.
Ready to see what this board meeting has to say.
Appreciate everybody coming out, work hard. Hard discussion items, a lot of motion, a lot of everything. I understand. Thank you.
out, we appreciate it, and certainly answer any questions that we can answer. We'll see where it goes. Thank you.
Brad, can the board say no to this today?
Pardon me?
Can the boards can say no to this today, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sure they've already talked to them.
They already did, he said they did.
They wouldn't be having a meeting if they didn't.